Today on the show, is the right wing seeking to distance themselves from the religious right? Perhaps they should be.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the
You know, I'm not really old enough to remember. But there was apparently, according to legend, according to people that were around pre-Ronald Reagan, pre-second term Ronald Reagan, to the best of my understanding, there were people around paying attention to politics that said that was a time where the right wasn't so conflated with religion. It wasn't the religious right. There was a bit more of a successful separation of church and state. And you know, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know I'm not on the right, I'm not on the left. I view politicians on the left and right as Coke and Pepsi. Shouldn't have too much of them. Rot your teeth. Not good for you. Maybe every once in a while, but generally speaking, it's not something that you should be participating in every day. You shouldn't be downing cans of party politics with every meal, so to speak. I don't really take sides, but I can tell you one of the great failings of the right, one of the failings of the right that gives people on the left so much ammunition is the way right-wing politics have been, like I said, conflated with religion. And like I said, to the best of my understanding, this was not always the case. I think it was around the second term of Ronald Reagan's presidency where this sort of thing started really being something that was pervading our politics. And look, the idea of separation of church and state, whether you feel we are a Christian nation or not, the idea of separation of church and state, the idea of freedom of religion, the idea of not letting politics dictate policy is one of the principles upon which our country was founded. That's why people pieced out to the New World, religious freedom. And it just represents such a tremendous failing on the part of the right. Something that gives their opponents so much ammunition when it comes to arguments against them. And it really is time for those on the right obsessed with religion and sexuality to move on, because they're not doing themselves any favors. Like I said, I am not a right-wing honk. I'm not someone that takes sides politically. I'm not someone who believes it or buys into the two-party system. I believe in voting for candidates, not party. I believe in the cut of someone's jib, I guess, if I must put it in such an old-timey way. But there are those people I know that are right-wing honks. There's many a person in talk radio that I know. There's many a political pundit I know. There's many a staunch Republican that I know that wishes that, as much as they might be Christian, that right-wing politics weren't so tied to religion, because it just winds up making you look kind of silly a lot of the time. There's nothing wrong in being religious. There's nothing wrong in using your freedom of religion to be religious. There's nothing wrong in letting your personal religion dictate your politics. But the idea that these two things are somehow combined. Like, if you read a passage of the Bible and you feel it makes a certain political candidate resonate with you more, well, go for it. If a certain political candidate panders religiously and it resonates with a voter, well, there's not too much you can do about it. You have the freedom to do these things in America. But like I said, there's so many hardcore right-wing Republican types that go, oh my gosh, I wish we would kind of let go of the religious thing. It's making us look foolish. And it's time for those on the right obsessed over gays and religion to move on. A federal judge recently dismissed a suit against drag queen Storytime at a public library. Did you see this? This falls into that category. Chief U.S. District Judge Lee H. Rosenthal issued her final ruling, rather. This is from Houston Chronicle. But Chief U.S. District Judge Lee H. Rosenthal issued her final ruling in the case this past Thursday, just gone by, 10 weeks after this lawsuit was filed by Tex Christopher, who, by the way, lead plaintiff in the case, who has also been fighting against the robot brothel in Houston. Busy year for this guy. The judge granted the city's request to terminate the case, stating that the court did not have jurisdiction because Christopher did not have standing to sue and failed to establish that the freedom of religion clause had been violated by storytellers. Basically, drag queen Storytime was a thing at a public library, and he went, no, this violates our freedom of religion. And it's this kind of crackpot theory that, like I said, has my hardcore right-wing Republican friends going, oh man, I wish he wouldn't say that. I wish he wouldn't act like he speaks for us. I wish he wouldn't sort of conflate his thing with our religion and our political beliefs. This is making us look crazy. Because this was a reach. Christopher says that he plans to appeal the ruling because he says that drag queen Storytime violated the freedom of religion of library patrons. You getting this? Drag queen Storytime violates the freedom of religion of other people showing up at the library? Does it really? How so? Well, his argument is this. It is deeply flawed, which is why the case was thrown out. But this is the sort of thing that a lot of people look at and go, oh my God, really? People on the right are silly. He argued that drag queens and transgender storytellers would indoctrinate children to believe in another religion, which the lawsuit identified as secular humanism. Somehow he managed to cook up this theory that by having drag queens and transgender storytellers tell stories to children, they were surreptitiously trying to indoctrinate them into secular humanism. It's a bit of a reach, isn't it? Which is why I was thrown out. He said he believed that the storytellers would groom children at the event to become transgender as well. Houston Public Library explained in an earlier court filing its stance on hosting the Story Hour, saying, throughout their history, American public libraries have been on the front lines of promoting inclusivity and dispelling intolerance. The Houston Public Library is committed to celebrating the diverse, culturally rich communities here in Houston through a broad array of programs and resources we offer. All our programs are free, open to the public, and accessible by choice.
Real radio.
104.1. Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So, last night you and I got into a conversation about depression, stress, and exercise, and the positive effect that exercise can have on all of the above. And, since then, my DMs, my various social media accounts, and my email, and pretty much every way it's been possible to contact me has blown up with people saying things along the lines of, dude, I felt like you were talking right to me. You're speaking to my heart. This is exactly what I've been going through. Thank you so much for putting it into words, and thank you so much for giving me a plan of action. That's from Robert, who listens to the show in Palm Beach, Florida. And to people like Robert, who I guess got something out of what we were talking about last night. And if you missed it, it was basically just me talking about how exercise has helped me get control of things like depression. Well, no, let's not sugarcoat it. Exercise helped me beat my depression. Not beat forever. I mean, I'm sure it'll be back. It was kind of back earlier today, to be honest with you. It was one of those days where I just woke up and went, what's the point of anything? There's no hope. There's no end in sight. But what turned my state of mind around was having a dog's great too. Because dogs are freaking fantastic. Dogs are the greatest. Dogs love you. Here are these things that are just put on earth, and all they want to do is love you, be your friend, protect you. I think of this a lot of time when people are talking about the existence of God and whether or not there's ever been proof of the existence of God. And I would imagine that you can make a pretty compelling argument for dogs existing being the best support for the idea that there's somebody out there looking out for us, that this thing was put here on earth to love, serve, and protect us and be our friend. Oh, it's the greatest gift we have, I think. So, I mean, dogs are great in terms of helping you beat your depression just by existing. Did you know, and this is an interesting aside, did you know that a dog is capable of making you feel love? When your dog comes and sits next to you and you scratch its ears or you rub its belly or you pet it in however you pet it in whatever manner you pet your dog, it releases that chemical that's responsible for a mother's love in your system, oxytocin. And what's really kind of interesting and cool is the oxytocin is being released by you and by the dog. So just by hanging out with your dog and scratching him behind the ears or her behind the ears, you're going to get feelings of love. And the dog's going to get that too. It's really, really cool. But like I said, I woke up this morning. I couldn't face the day. I was just like, I can't. What's the point of anything? Why? And then Millhouse put his paws on the side of the bed and he was like, hey, we're up. Guess we're going out now. And besides, being freaking adorable, if you've seen Millhouse, my puppy, on my Instagram feed, you know this. Millhouse makes me get up. I could easily stay in bed all day when depression kicks in. And the things that make me get out of bed are Millhouse and the work that I eventually must do. But went for a walk with Millhouse. It was chilly. It was bracing. We walked briskly. My heart rate came up a little bit. And the physical activity changed things in my mind. And that's pretty much how it's always been. If I'm feeling low, if I can just drag myself off the couch or out of bed and get to the gym and do something, it has an almost immediate and pronounced effect. So you and I were talking about diet, exercise, things of this nature that can take a chunk out of your depression, help you manage depression. And you know what? I'm not knocking depression. I'm not knocking medication. I've seen medication have tremendously positive results in many people's lives. But exercise is something everyone can do. It might be in conjunction with, it might be instead of, but it really, really helps. Getting up, walking around, swinging your arms, getting your heart rate up, all these things. They help you manage your state of mind. And ever since then, ever since I talked about it, and it was weird because I went out on a limb talking about it. I was like, is this too nebulous of a concept? Am I going to sound like one of those annoying sort of like, just be positive, go out and do stuff and you'll feel better? Because when you're bummed the hell out, hearing that person say those things is just, it's the worst. And I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to sound all sorts of hokey, and I didn't want to sound like something I'm not. But I felt like, man, if I don't share this after it's affected my life in such a positive manner, then I'm kind of a jerk, because I know other folks are hurting, especially this time of year. So I talked about it, and man, like I said, every single inbox I have has been blown up with people saying, I really felt like you were talking about me. And the important thing is that shows, well, you're not alone. You're not alone in what you're going through. We're all going through it, or we all will go through it at some point or another. And whatever experience you're having, there's a very good chance that there's someone out there that can relate in a way that maybe you can't imagine. So it's been sort of overwhelming to get that kind of response. It's been really cool. It's been really cool to connect people with each other in that manner. The other thing people have been asking me was, hey, I saw your Instagram post. What are you eating? What exercises are you doing? Like if I want to change my physical body, and like I said, the physical changes take time. The mental ones are almost instantaneous. But the physical changes take time. And if you want to know, everyone around the office was like, "Oh, you look amazing. What are you doing?" And so I typed it out, and if you want it, I'll send it to you. But a lot of people were wondering what I was eating, and I mean, basically, I was paying attention to what I ate. And that's it. I guess the new agey types would call it mindful eating. I just call it sort of paying attention to what you're putting in your body and tracking what you're putting in your body. Now, in the past, you had to walk around with a notebook, writing stuff down, reading the backs of labels and things like that. Now it's the digital age. You get an app like MyFitnessPal, and you can scan a barcode, and you know exactly what it is you're putting in your body, how many calories, how many grams of sugar, protein, fat, carbs, all that. But being mindful, knowing what it is you're putting in your body is really kind of an interesting and enlightening thing that I hadn't discovered until last year. I mean, I had an idea like, oh, that has carbs or that has sugar or that, but I didn't know how many. And it's incredible when you go like, oh man, wow, like a spoonful of peanut butter or a chicken breast for the same amount of calories. What is a person to do? Well, maybe I'll eat the piece of chicken. So it's good being aware. It's good knowing that stuff. And because everyone has been hitting me up about the exercise we talked about and how I eat, first and foremost, email me, ad@iheartmedia.com, and I'll send you what I've got. Hashtag not a doctor. Hashtag don't know what I'm talking about. Definitely not a trainer. But I can send you what I did and what worked for me, and it might help because, I'm a dunderhead, so I made it really simple. But I came across an interesting article when it comes to knowing what it is you're putting in your body, because that can have a profound effect on your state of mind as well. And there was this sort of list of foods, I suppose, that could kill your New Year's diet or your diet anywhere. And I thought it was kind of illuminating. It's a new British survey found that 1 in 5 people plan to make a New Year's resolution this year. Young people are more than twice as likely to do it than old people, and women are slightly more likely to do it than men. As always, one of the most common resolutions is to get in shape and lose weight. New survey out of England looked up the top 10 foods that can kill a diet. Now, it has a slight British slant, which I like having grown up in England, but they're things like chocolate and other candy, chips, fish and chips, definitely a British term, but in this case, chips means French fries, which applies here too. Pizza, breakfast sandwiches. You think they're healthy. Not so much. Cheese, cake, cookies, curry, and burgers. What's interesting is when people talk about the fat content, it's not necessarily the fat, it's the amount of calories that are packed into the fat. So there you go. Avoid those things. And if you need to know what it was I've been eating, I'll email it to you. ad@iheartradio.com.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radio Land.
All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on, come on.
So, as you and I talk about health and fitness and all of the above, and as it's become very much a part of the conversation with everyone I know, I'm sure you and your friends are talking about it. Everyone's on that new year, new me thing. Everybody is making resolutions, and the vast majority of those resolutions are to do with health and fitness. And you know what? As much as it seems to be a promise you make yourself every single year, I genuinely believe that this might be the year that you do it. This might be the year that you change a habit. This might be the year that you become the you want to be. This might be the year that you hold yourself accountable. I don't know. I know that this past year just gone by, because it was helping me manage my depression, my exercise was very consistent. I was in the gym, not long, maybe like 45 minutes to an hour every single time. I wasn't in there for hours and hours. I don't have much time. But I was in the gym pretty consistently 3 times a week for a year. Somewhere between 125 and 150 visits to the gym. And I don't know. I think you change a habit within the first couple of months or something like that. And I'm not going to say something like, now going to the gym to me is like breathing. But my point is, I'm not saying that this isn't the year that you're going to become the best version of yourself that you can be because, well, I started a new habit last year, stuck with it very consistently, feel better for it. And I think a big part of the reason was because it made me feel like I had hope. It made me feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. It made me feel as though I could beat my depression back. It made me feel better and happier. And I think that's sort of, when you get to the why is what matters things. When I had the right motivation, when I just didn't want to be miserable anymore, and going to the gym made me less miserable, and eventually, oh gosh, heaven forbid, happy. I decided I like that. I'm going to do some more of that. So you might do it. You might do it this year. I believe it's totally possible. And one of the things that I actually really, really like about this whole new year, new me thing that everybody's on at the moment is it's caused people to talk about the music that they're listening to. Music is this incredible, unbelievable, intangible thing. Music has a way of affecting your mind, body, spirit, and soul in ways that science doesn't fully comprehend. But science acknowledges music has this power. And for that reason, I actually sort of find myself very interested in what people are listening to when they go to the gym. When you are trying to get pumped or psyched or any of the above, when you are working out, what do you like to put on? I got to tell you, I got into this weird habit a little while ago of listening to kind of, sort of, very out there. Like, it's the last thing that anyone would ever imagine going to the gym and listening to while they were exercising. But it was sort of very out there, mellow, laid back jazz. Sort of a mix of a bunch of Miles Davis Sketches of Spain style pieces of music. And that was because it sort of relaxed me. And everyone that I know is like, you can't listen to that. Your intensity is going to be garbage. But it put me into this kind of hypnotic state where I kind of found myself sinking deeper into the exercise, which I think probably helped with the whole state of mind thing. So I listen to, I think, what a lot of people would consider the antithesis of workout music. Cool jazz, Miles Davis, Sketches of Spain. Give it a go sometime. You never know. But I think it's interesting to know what it is people are listening to. And the folks over at Spotify actually crunched the numbers to determine the most popular workout songs of all time. And get this, the list is dominated by Eminem and Kanye West. Yeah. Eminem had the two top workout tracks, Till I Collapse and Lose Yourself. I could see Lose Yourself. I mean, you put that on in the background and all of a sudden you're in your own mind. You're the hero of your own movie and you are getting up after having been knocked down and you're going to go out there and you are going to get it. You are going to lose yourself. And I guess that's sort of like being able to lose yourself in music, whether or not you can actually do that to the work of Eminem, is a good way to kind of get the most out of your exercise. Good way to get the most mentally out of it. Anything that takes you out of your head. It's sort of almost meditative. I think it's probably what the Beatles and Jerry Seinfeld and Howard Stern get out of transcendental meditation. It sort of gives you a break from yourself for a while and lets you actually live in the now, not fret about the future, not worry about the past, but actually be present in the moment. And so that's kind of cool. I could see people losing themselves in Lose Yourself. Kanye West had the next two, Stronger and Power. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis snagged the number 5 spot with Can't Hold Us. Broken down by gender, men went with Till I Collapse, but the most popular workout song for women was Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars. It's interesting, right? It's interesting to know what people are listening to when they get in the gym. What's going to get me going? Uptown Funk going to give it to you, apparently. And you know what? That kind of sort of makes sense to me. I'm all for it. Along the lines of Till I Collapse, along age lines rather, Till I Collapse was the most popular song for everyone up to 35. For the 35 to 55 crowd, it was Survivor's Eye of the Tiger. Okay, so when I'm not listening to sort of more esoteric, cool jazz in the gym because I find it sort of lets me kind of get lost in the exercise a little bit more. It gives me a bit of a break from myself, helps me live in the now, like I said. I do also have a gym mix, and Survivor's Eye of the Tiger is in there. I was like, how could you not have the theme song from Rocky in there? Oh, also, Europe's The Final Countdown. I find that's especially good when I am bench pressing. But yeah, for the 35 to 55 crowd, it was Survivor's Eye of the Tiger, and baby, those over 55 preferred Meghan Trainor's All About That Bass. What? Yeah. People over 55 love to work out to Meghan Trainor's All About That Bass. Interesting, right? Or perhaps activities coordinators in their rest homes did. I don't know. It's a weird one. It's very strange. You know what else I've found myself doing? I've found myself listening to full albums. And this is, like I said, it's kind of cool hearing people get into the gym and hearing about the type of music that they listen to. Because, well, music, like I said, has this beautiful, undefinable, intangible effect on our mind, body, soul, and spirit. And 9 times out of 10, we have music on in the background. We listen to the car as we are going about our day. But when you've got it on in the headphones and you are immersing yourself in it while taking part in some form of physical activity, not only are you doing something good for your body with the exercise, but music feeds your soul, my friend. It really does. And you are taking time to listen to music. Really listen. You've got your headphones in. You know you're there for 45 minutes or an hour or a half hour, what it is. You're going to listen to music for an extended period of time, and it's not going to be on in the background while you're working or talking to somebody else. You will be focused on 2 things, the song in your head and the exercise that you're performing, I suppose, which is really kind of cool. And you know, one of the other things that I've come to really appreciate about my little sort of respite that I give myself by getting into the gym is listening to full albums. When was the last time you listened to a full album? It's sort of not the way we consume things in this day and age. But I find myself going, okay, I got 45 minutes. I am listening to Beastie Boys' Check Your Head in its entirety. I'm listening to Beastie Boys' Ill Communication in its entirety. I'm listening to albums in their entirety. And, you know, it's kind of interesting because not everybody does this, but some artists do this. Beastie Boys being a prime example. Some albums, when they're done right, when they are made to be listened to as an entire body of work, take you on a bit of a journey. And so, I suppose that's one of the other beautiful things about you managing your state of mind through exercise. 9 people out of 10 are going to do that with music in their ears. And that getting into the gym, that getting your heart rate up, that producing beads of sweat, that thing where you're out of breath, that mental, spiritual, physical, and emotional reset that engaging in activity can give you sometimes is great. But let's not forget that music has the ability to heal us. But we kind of have to give ourselves to music for it to heal us. We have to stop. We have to listen. We have to enjoy. We have to let it wash over us like a soothing, cleansing bath, which our favorite records that have been a big part of the soundtrack to our lives, can do. So it's the other part of it. Music, my friend, never forget, has the power to heal. It has the power to heal you. So, as long as you're participating in the exercise, or even if you're not, why not let it?
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away.
AD on the radio.
So you and I will get into the events of today in our segment, My Witness News, in just a little bit. But right now, though, let me ask you this. Did you have to travel? Did you have to travel much over the holidays? This one was a big one. Christmas in my family is not usually like this, but my sister had a baby like 5 months ago. My beautiful, perfect baby niece, Ellie, was born. And as it turns out, babies are a bit of a draw. Babies put butts in seats. Babies get relatives to come from far and wide to meet the new member of the family. And so it was a big one. There was like 16 of us. I don't know how Christmases in your family usually are, but ours is not usually like that. And that included my father coming over from Kosovo. My father coming over from Kosovo was, well, look, that's 24 hours on a plane. That's going from Kosovo, that's going from Kosovo to Austria to, I think it was New York to Hartford, Connecticut. Like, that's 4 planes, several different foreign languages being spoken in airports, lots of international changeovers, and helped my dad book all this stuff. And so as a consequence, between the hotel I booked him into and the flights and all of the above, and the hotel I had to book myself into and the flights and all of the above, I dealt with an awful lot of confirmation numbers this past Christmas just gone by. And it kind of about made my head want to explode. By the end of it, I was like, no more confirmation numbers. I just know my flight leaves at this time. I paid for it. It says so on my credit card receipt. No more random series of letters and numbers. And no. And it's good to know I'm not the only one who gets frustrated with confirmation numbers. Also, the great Brian Regan has had a moment or two with it.
So I had to use a phone to book the flight to come here, and the reservationist gave me a confirmation code. And like I'm an idiot, she gives it to me like this. Mr. Regan, your confirmation code, jot this down. It's B as in boy. Oh, okay. P as in Paul. Slow down. K as in kite. Oh, I know kite. I know. And Q as in quagmire. I called back to confirm the flight. She wanted to know the confirmation code. I don't know about you, but I feel like an idiot trying to quickly come up with words for letters, and I'm panicking on the phone. The confirmation code, it's B as in, baked beans. P as in pneumonia. K as in Gaddafi. And Q as in Gaddafi. They only do that with letters. Nobody ever does that with numbers. My code, it's 4 as in 423. 2 as in 2,941. No, 47.
The other thing I found myself having to deal with recently was having to change financial passwords and create financial passwords, and that's also equally a headache. Did you ever have your mortgage sold? I think every single time I bought a piece of property, my mortgage has been sold. And every single time that happens, it's a giant, miserable pain in the freaking ass. Why? Because if you're like me, you like to do everything digitally. I haven't written a check in I don't know how long. I like to pay my bills online. I like to pay my bills through websites. I like to pay my bills with an app. And you're all set up. You're paying your mortgage monthly. It's being deducted from your account, or you've got some sort of system in place where you're never going to miss a payment, so you don't have to worry about it. And then you get this letter in the mail. Hey, we've sold your mortgage to this person. This person will be administrating your loan. So you have to go set up all new stuff. And I had to do that. It's the worst. I had to do that during the holidays, right as I was booking all those flights, right as I was dealing with all those confirmation numbers, right as I was booking all those hotel rooms, were like, hey, just go to this web address that we're going to write down on a piece of paper and mail to you, and log in and create a new account. And oh my gosh, the password had to be different from all my other passwords and had to involve hieroglyphics and would expire soon. And such a pain, as is evidenced by Joe Machi.
Got a weird call from my bank, gang. They said that my security questions were hacked again, and they recommended that I change the answers immediately. I replied, well, how does that work? How can I change the answers to facts about myself? What's your favorite band? Led Zeppelin. Not anymore. Now it's the Backstreet Boys. My security questions have been hacked so many times. I have my regular personality and an alter ego I had to write down so I could remember what I said was true about myself. In my regular life, I enjoy Sprite and Battlestar Galactica. Ask the internet, it's cocaine and cage fighting.
Alrighty then, in the time you and I have left, let's you and I discuss the events of today in our segment, My Witness News, shall we? Ooh, you could be putting this in your mouth and it could be helping to save our economy. What is it? Excuse me. Freaking winter cold kicking in. Yeah, you could be putting this thing in your mouth and it could be helping to save our economy. There's a food. There's a food that's actually helping to boost our national economy at the moment. And this is something that a lot of people who are trying to be healthier in 2019 are eating. In fact, like I said, you might have eaten it today. What is it? It's berries. Yeah, the berry business is apparently booming. Berries are booming. And this is unexpected, and it's also due to consumers having a desire to eat fresh, healthy food that's still satisfyingly sweet. And, you know, we were talking earlier in the show, about sort of tracking what it is you eat and knowing what it is you're putting in your body. And berries, nutritionally speaking, and they're good for you. I mean, they're obviously, you know, fresh produce and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of bang for your buck flavor with regard to, you know, things like sugars and carbs and all that sort of thing, if you are trying to cut back on all those, berries are delicious and, I guess, preferable. So because everybody's on that new year, new me thing where they're trying to eat healthier and be better, I think in part because of these apps that help you track what it is you're putting in your body as part of your nutrition, like MyFitnessPal or whatever it is, people are very aware that berries are, you know, it's sweet, it's healthy, it's delicious, I'm going to eat some berries. So in 2019, because people I think are a little bit more educated about what it is they're putting in their bodies, berries are booming. Yeah. Berries, like I said, are being sought after by consumers who have this desire to eat fresh, healthy food that's still satisfying and sweet. And berries, as it turns out, have given the U.S. economy an unexpected lift during a rather volatile time for the stock market. We're up, we're down, we're crashing, we're soaring, or what the hell is going on? Well, it's okay because berries are here to save us. Yes, ironically, berries are helping us out of a jam. You're welcome. Hey, so question for you. Where do you use your cell phone the most? Only because when you find out where the average American uses their cell phone most often, you're probably going to look at those text messages and social media posts from your friends very, very differently. According to a new study, 2 out of every 3 Americans uses their phone predominantly whilst in the bathroom, taking care of business. Yeah. The average American uses their phone most in the bathroom, which is interesting, I suppose. And like I said, it'll make you reconsider those social media posts and text messages from your friends. But also the fact that the majority of Americans use their phone predominantly in the bathroom might finally explain what a push notification actually is. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much for hanging. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. At ADSXE is where you can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram, or email me, ad@iheartradio.com. Have an awesome night.